Okay. So let's play. Let's play with impact. The first question that I always like to ask is why? Why are we doing this? Why are we bothering? Why are you investing a time of an hour of your precious, precious life to look at your impact? What is the reason? What is the driver? Let's have 2 minutes to just check in with ourselves. Why is it so important to have more impact? Why are we doing this? And whilst you're thinking about why you're doing this, I'm going to give you a little spiel about why I'm doing this. And I had the honor of really thinking about this because at the moment, as some of you know, my son is in hospital. So I really do have other places to be right now. I could be in hospital with him. I could sit at his bedside. I could come up with some games to play with him or entertain him. And I choose to be here. And last Monday, I chose to give a speech at the University of East London. And then sometimes I choose to give a speech somewhere else and not be in hospital. So why do I do that? Why is this so important to me? And my answer is that number one, it's really important for me to have conversations outside of my personal ones. Number two, the way that I get to impact the world is by helping leaders to be more impactful. Now, having impact is important to me because there's something about relevance that really means something for me. I absolutely hate the idea that I made no difference. Evelyn Brink came to this world and she wants to do stuff. Like the horror would be she came and left and nobody cared and nothing mattered and it didn't actually change anything. That would be like my personal nightmare. I love having a positive impact. I absolutely love this power of being able to do something for the good. So that's why I do this thing, even though my son is in hospital and I technically could just be involved in this one world. There's something about me that comes alive when I get to help other leaders to really thrive. And it's a lot of fun. So that's me in a nutshell. The other really big thing actually is about the silenced voices piece. I mentioned this more and more, but there's something about voices that have been silenced that technically shouldn't be heard. So, me as such a full-time mother and carer, technically there is no space for me to work. There's no space for me to be heard. I have no place in society. I often get very angry about this, the way that the system is set up. It's almost like they'd rather have me sitting in a council house and just take care of the kids than be out there in the world and move and shake things. And I want to move and shake things, even if it's hard. Like I want to move and shake things. It's super, super important to me. And I love when I get to make a difference, especially also to other people who found that they, for some reason or another, have been silenced and kind of can't really be heard. And it's fair enough, not everybody's the president of the United States or has a really powerful position where they can automatically influence the world. But we are in such a time now that we more than ever have an opportunity to make really big changes and really have really big effect on other people than ever before. So now you had enough time to think. I'd be really curious to hear. Why is impact important to you? Shall we start with the lady in the house? That's you, Kat.
Going to say that's me. I was just looking around the room, making sure I hadn't missed anybody. But yeah, I know Evelyn through a workshop I did with Rich Litvin, and I work a lot with women who are perhaps leaving that part of themselves that has been full-time mother, a role, an identity, if you like. And as the children become more independent and they find themselves with more time on their hands, I see more and more that if they don't lean into that creativity, that potential, that all that they have to offer the world, it actually becomes a source of real anxiety and frustration. So for me, the impact is to know that when I'm doing my best work, there are women who are literally coming alive and making a contribution in ways that they probably didn't even believe was possible. And I find that the ripple effect of that in their own communities and within their families is huge, and that brings me a lot of joy.
So it's about creating that ripple effect with other people. Thank you. That's beautiful. Edward, why is impact important to you?
I think it resonated with me when you said to make an impact, and to leave a mark, I think was the thing I took away from that. I've gained a lot of wisdom and a lot of experiences through peaks and troughs in my life, shall we say, that could be very valuable to other people who've been experiencing similar things and don't know how to process them and to pick themselves up and go on. I've been producing like little training courses and toying with the idea of essentially trying to package myself in some way to coach people. And a lot of people I've spoken to recently at some of the bigger events that I've been to have said, wow, you've got so much insight and knowledge. Why aren't you doing this? And I'm like, because I haven't figured that out yet. So I've got the potential and I just need to make it happen because I am impacting people, but it's very, what's the word, behind the scenes in a way, rather than taking a stage and making it happen.
And what do you need to figure out?
I need to build myself that bridge to create a platform for me to go out into the world and say, here I am, this is what I can do. This is why you could listen to me and I can help you.
And when you say platform, what do you mean by that?
It literally could be anything. It could be, I don't know, social media to start. It could be a physical platform like a stage. There's a lot of different vehicles that I've been starting to look at over the last 2 or 3 weeks.
But is the piece that you need to figure out the messaging by any chance? Like what you're going to say?
Possibly, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the important bit.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go next. Let's go to Curtis. Curtis, why is impact important to you?
Well, impact is important to me because not many people know this, but I am disabled. I have bipolar, multiple sclerosis, and strabismus, which is why I had to put on my eye patch. I was seeing double vision. It's getting pretty wonky. But the thing is, the impact that I need to show the world is that you can get past all of these physical issues as long as you have a good mindset and you're happy about life. Now that comes from, of course, self-love. And that's the impact that I know that I can put into this world. I can show the world how self-love works, and it's pretty cool.
It's incredible, Curtis. I agree. That's a huge impact that you can make, especially with that background, right?
That's correct. I mean, since we last talked about 5 years ago or so, a lot of things have happened in my life, some good, some not so good. Had to go to jail, not good.
Not good.
But I did learn, of course, about behaviors and what causes behaviors. And so I can share that.
I mean, you have a very unique perspective. And I mean, I love the freedom that you just have to share this so openly. Is there anything holding you back at this point, Curtis, of sharing what you need to share?
Not necessarily. I've gotten my mission statement down pat. My niche is, oh goodness, 73% there. And I've got to get that to 89% before I can go ahead and push out a program. I'll put that out in about the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
And gotta make money. Gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. And so it's always interesting when we think that we have to do something in order to do something else. It's very typical for all of us coaches. It's sometimes true and sometimes a great way of us procrastinating. Sometimes the first step is just to go out there and say that you're doing this. And before you put out a program, it can be really good to amass an audience. Have you got a community? Have you got an audience? Have you got people who are interested in learning from you yet?
Yes, I have already done a webinar. So I had 5 people show up and show interest. That's 5 more than I had before.
Amazing, yeah. Okay, so you have started the process big time this time. Okay,
Yes, I am.
I'm excited.
It's going. I have learned that I need to enunciate better.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that the wonderful video coaching that we did years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I do remember.
Wonderful. Okay, great. Let's see if we can add to that today. So we have enunciation, and I remember we also talked about becoming really succinct in on the
Yes.
points that we want to make, which is really an art form, isn't it? For everyone. Oh,
Especially if you're somebody who goes off on tangents
yes,
in a half a second.
yes. It's a huge discipline, especially in that field, and even more impressive when you then achieve to do it.
Oh, we've gotta get something done.
Yeah,
Uh,
amazing.
my yard needed to be mowed yesterday, so what did I do? I mowed my yard.
Well done. Well done. Okay, well, we're on our way. Okay, let's hear from Dave in a quick and succinct manner as well. Why is impact important to you? And thank you.
Because I notice how the impact that I have on other people through my energy. So for me, I take great responsibility in maintaining my energy, not just a parent, but in line of work, coaching, leadership, everything. And also growing up, I had this little wise voice that would tell me I'm here to do great things. And then there came a point where I stopped receiving or hearing this message. And I didn't have an environment that really nurtured my own innate leadership skills, and I lacked some really positive role models, particularly as a father. So for me, understanding that and then seeing how creative I am and the tendency to be able to vision and limit possibilities, and this kind of like childlike quality I have, understanding that I've had to come back to that and then put myself into environments where I can really thrive in that way. I want that for other people who haven't had their own innate leadership qualities nurtured. I want to be able to support people who have incredible visionary tendencies that haven't stepped into leadership, really be able to own that and take charge of creating their experience. So some language that I've been playing with recently is, because I've been a DJ for over 20 years, is to say that I create DJs, leaders who powerfully and playfully take charge of creating their own experience. Because that the metaphor with DJing and being there in front of the crowds, conducting, being in charge, not in control. There's so many beautiful metaphors in that that I
Yeah.
see in leadership too. So
Oh, I
that's why
love
it's
that. I love that. Oh, there's so much in there, Dave. Okay, so we agree that making an impact is about making a difference. There's something around really being the most powerful version of ourselves. There's something about empowering others. Did I live something? And there's something about us coming alive. That seems to be the base understanding that we have here of impact. Because for me, impact is one of these words that we can easily use, and that sometimes people go like, yeah, 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 and other times we glaze over and go like, yeah, 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 yeah. So the first game we're going to play is called Bullshit to This, and it's an impact game because impact means making a difference, and making a difference means as well standing out and like telling it as it is. One of the issues I see in life as in business is that a lot of us get lost in the world of meh, mediocre meh. You might be good at what you do, but it's kind of just a little bit meh. It's a bit blurry. It's a bit inauthentic. It's a bit middle of the road. It's a bit conceptual because we don't dare to go right in and say what we actually need to say. Why don't we do that? Because we're afraid of rejection. Because we're afraid of humiliation, because we're afraid of not being good enough, because we're afraid of criticism, of judgment. So it makes sense that we want to protect ourselves, but in the process of doing so, we give up our power. And when we give up our power, then we can't complain that things aren't really moving forward because it takes a lot of power, which is also energy. Dave, you were alluding to that earlier. And it takes a lot of energy to actually move ourselves, our businesses, our impact to the place that we want it to be. So one of the most, if not the most effective ways to cultivate more energy, get into a place of authenticity, and get into a place of impact is to articulate exactly what you need to say. So we start with a place that you're unhappy. A bit like when you say to people, what do you want? And you go like peace and love and everything good. Start with what you don't want, and you'll get a very precise list. Isn't it amazing? Our brain is so good at figuring out what we no longer want. I don't want the toilet seat down every time I go to the bathroom. I have these piss stains on the toilet. People are very clear and very precise about what they don't want. So that is actually a great starting point for everything. And then we're going to translate it in what we do want. But you see, the passion is by default very big when you're angry about something. Isn't that amazing? Which is why all good comedy comes from the pain, from the things that we hate. And actually also all good messaging is an opposite of the things that we despise, that we are a no to. So rather than being good life coaches and thinking about all the wonderful possibilities of the world and how we can be so happy evermore, we're going to go to the dark side for a few minutes so we can go bullshit to that. So I want you to think about something that makes you a little bit angry. I'm going to invite you to explore the possibility of where the anger might sit. So think about something that pisses you off in technical terms. So we can start talking about something with confidence and passion. And then we're going to say, and we don't need to say the words bullshit to that because they're quite coarse, right? And that might not actually be your brand. I'm right now looking for passion and purpose and impact. It's not about swearing. It's not about being vulgar, but sometimes it's a place where people start. But actually vulgarity and swearing is just not having the articulation. So once we put the real words around it, we become passionate, right? I had enough to, or I am a strong no to, is the same as I'm calling bullshit to this. So for those of you who are not talking in those more street terms, there are plenty of wonderful phrases that we can use. So is there something that you are absolutely appalled by that you had enough of? Let's go round. Let's play with this.
Evelyn,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not appalled, but it has alarmed me that in the coaching community, I see so many programs about empowerment. Empowerment's great, but empowerment should be for everyone, should it not? But I don't hear empowerment for everyone, do I? I hear only empowerment programs for girls and women and things of that nature, when in fact, inside the men, we have the little boy that needs to be nurtured and cared for as well. And so that's I've had a hard time coping with that. That has not made me angry.
It has not made you angry.
No, it has not made me angry. I mean, it's made me like, how did this happen? What's going on? Does anybody not see that there's another half of the population that needs to be coached as well? That there's pain inside other people?
Mm-hmm. So this is interesting, right? So there's a what you're saying is there's a little boy inside a man that needs nurturing. And when you hear everybody going on about empowerment for girls, you feel that the little boys are being left out. Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Pretty much they are. They have.
Okay.
I know that during my lifetime when I was abused and everybody looked away because you weren't looking for boys being abused. You're only looking for girls.
Oh yeah.
And so it's just like going, where were the safety nets for me?
Wow.
There weren't.
Yes. Okay. This is a great and delicate topic, right? Because of course there's a reason why we talk about empowerment for girls nowadays. It's because women and girls have been suppressed for a long time, so it becomes a men versus women, time for women to rise piece. And then the consequence is that when we have vulnerable men or vulnerable boys that are affected, there is literally nothing there for you, and you get almost like a black hole. We can't talk about it. We don't want to care about it. It's very interesting. It's a big blind spot. So how can you speak to that in a way that's very, very true, very raw, and very succinct? Like that will be a very interesting topic. But
And I've been,
is empowerment
I've
the
been
right
pondering
word? Is empowerment the right word? I'm asking. It
that.
might not be. It might be. Is it nurturing? Is it safety net? Is it what is it? What is it really that was not there or that needs to be there for men like you?
Compassion and understanding. There's a term that encapsulates those two. Caregiving, a friend,
So are
somebody
we,
to hold,
is it
somebody
about,
to,
yeah?
it's about agape. It's about the agape love. It's not about the, love, other kind of boyfriend, girlfriend garbage. It's about having a friend.
And I heard that there was a bit more than just a friend. It's about having understanding. It's about having somewhere to turn to. It's about being
Yes.
seen.
Yes.
Okay.
Acknowledgement.
So, acknowledgement, being taken seriously, that sort of thing. Okay. So when you start speaking about what's needed and what isn't there, the first step to do that, Curtis, for you will be to speak in a sense of earnesty, which means your face needs to be relaxed and not do the social smile. So, because when we do a social smile, we sometimes negate the seriousness of the situation. So when you were just explaining about this whole situation, you were smiling quite a bit, and the impact that has is it turns down the power and turns up the question mark in my head for sure. Like, why is he masking the pain with a smile? So what we want to do is allow people to see this as painful. But of course, we don't want to drive them down in a hole of pain or shame. We just want to be very clear. What's the term? We're going to use the term, let's talk about being seen. There are a lot of programs nowadays about women to rise to power, being seen, about empowerment, about nurturing your inner child. And it's wonderful that we're finally supporting women to really come to their rightful place. I love that. And I feel forgotten because inside me is a little boy that wasn't seen either. Inside me is a little boy that was abused but had nowhere to turn to because abuse for boys and men is not something that we seem to have any space for in this society. And so when this happened to me, I had nowhere to go, nowhere to turn. Nobody took me seriously. And I felt absolutely forlorn. And I'm so fed up with it. I think that empowerment and nurturing is something that is gender neutral, and anyone who needs it should have access to it. Something like that. Yeah, how does that sound? I just riffed this one for you.
Hey, you ripped that. Awesome. Could I get the transcript?
Well, you can, because we've recorded this, and so there is a transcript. And you're very welcome to use it, no problem. So what I want to show you here is that if I smile throughout this, the message would be very different, right? So I see that there's a lot of empowerment for girls and women nowadays. And I think that's great, but I feel forgotten. You see, if I do that, it gives a very different message. I too needed to be seen. When I was abused, there was nowhere I could turn to. What does the smile say in that moment?
That I'm about halfway crazy.
It's interesting, isn't it? We sometimes try to milden a sensation with a smile. A smile said, "You're safe with me." That's why we invented smiling in a way. Like, if I smile at you, you know I'm not angry, you're safe. I'm not going to attack you. But it's almost goes against itself when I speak about something vulnerable, right?
Yes.
Then the smile becomes the aggressive thing. It's fascinating.
It is a good study. Thank you very much for
Yeah,
that
you're welcome.
information. I'm really going to have to think about that and my facial
Hmm.
movements.
Yeah. So we're allowed to relax the face, and the awareness is, am I smiling to please you? Am I smiling to appease you? Or am I smiling because I want to smile? And I think especially in America, there's a bigger smile culture than in England or Germany. You know, where we all learned. I've got an American smile. I learned it, the photo smile, and I
Always show teeth.
always show teeth, not necessarily eyes. The freaky photo smile is when you show teeth, but the eyes don't change like this. But so now that we are moving on camera, when people do that, it just doesn't work for you. It works against you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for playing with that. Let's check in with the other three. Is this something that you've come across as well? Is this useful for you? What are you getting out of this? Short session there with Curtis. We popcorn style it.
I'll go quickly. Man, saluting your courage, Curtis, by the way, because I've supported some people who've been through abuse before, and it's, I mean, you can't ever imagine what it's like to go through that. But just generally, I'm sort of resonating with that lack of support, and how I think just boys in general, we're not given the tools to express when we're growing up. You're, if anything, it's unsafe because you're either, like in the UK, you'd be called gay, or you'd be given abuse, or you'd be beaten up, or like it's just not safe to really express how you feel, honestly. So then you're growing up, and you're all your mates, you're all kind of in the same space where it's all a lot of superficial interactions and conversations, and there's so little meaningful conversation. Like it's so rare, and it just yeah, I I got a lot of that from what you were sharing there.
There was actually some interesting pieces for you as well to talk about then, Dave,
Yeah.
about how it's not safe to express yourself, and then you grow up and we expect you to be good at it. It's great. There's some great pieces. Okay, so what are you a no to? What's pissing you off? What do you I call bullshit to? I say no. I'm a no to that. Like I'm not having it.
I think it's that. It's guys not feeling able to have a really honest conversation about where they're at and how they're feeling, and if any, and being made to feel less than or bad or wrong. But I think it's not just guys; it's kids in general. But I think more so for guys. I think the amount of times I've had experiences in the work that I'm doing with music in particular, where it's created this incredible space for expression because the music's this tool that people can use to go to these places and feel like, okay, I've got that to hold on to until I can express myself, has been amazing. So yeah, I'm just seeing more and more that I'm just such a no to anyone being held back or made to feel unsafe for just being honest about who they are.
So there could be a piece, if we want to be a bit provocative, about express yourself. It's safe to express yourself. Bullshit. It's not. It's just not. You know, there's a lot of propaganda that you should express yourself, but there's a good reason why I didn't as a kid. Because quite frankly, I would have been beaten up. I would have been laughed at. I would have been excluded from my mates. So growing up as a boy meant you do not express your true feelings. You learn how to be cool, how to be tough, and how to get through stuff. And then you find your little pockets of expression, like music, where it's okay to feel, like sports, where it's okay to whatever in yours was music. Like in music, I could express myself and I could channel all those feelings into the this and that and the other. But really expressing myself, nah, that's only something I've learned lately. And quite frankly, I'm appalled by the expectation on me to be as good as someone who's been able to do this all their life. Maybe we need to give children the tools and the permission to use those tools so that this part feels safer. Because we all agree it's important, but where is the teaching on how to do it? And maybe you have some tips on how to do it. Who knows, right? That could be interesting. So what I'm trying to get for you, Dave, is a piece as well where you can get in it. And we have this. So Dave was on my latest Impact Amplifier program, and we
awesome.
Thank you. May I share the last exercise? What we did? We did something where Dave really got into his seriousness and his passion, and it changed the whole energy. Like his whole beautiful energy went like laser focused, and it was so impactful. So I'm quite keen on getting Dave to own his power. Because this love and this radiance is very obvious, it's very default mode. And when he goes into his passion and power, then we can go like, oh, okay, this is someone, not only do I like him, I respect him. And that's what we need for you and for your business to take off, is that you're not just liked, you're respected and trusted. Because people will trust us with their money when they know that they're going to get value. And that means it's not just that they think we're nice people, but that we really can hold them. We can hold them in spaces that they can't hold themselves yet. That's what powerful coaching is, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So I want to see more pieces from you where you really nail some stuff that's painful, that's not solved.
Yeah, I could see there's some work I can do there. I wrote a list a couple of years ago, which was a list of things that pissed me off as an exercise to get into that energy. Because for years I kept the emotion of anger out because I didn't trust that it was safe because of some experiences I had when I was 13, got some fights, parents separating, feeling like losing home, all sorts of shit. And then, yeah, I kept anger out. So I realized actually this is getting in the way of my potential. So that was an incredibly powerful thing to do because I learned to trust that part of me, part that I'd kept out for like 30 years nearly.
Yeah, it's such a powerful exploration. Anger and our dark side. Because as children, we really get that knocked out of ourselves. We need to be good boys and good girls so that our parents can cope with us. I've got kids. I much prefer that when they're good, but I understand that they're not just one thing.
Yeah,
and now I'm in this really interesting dance with my daughter, trying to help her appreciating her little devil and the good girl. So I said, you're this beautiful mixture. You're my darling daughter and a little devil. And she goes, and a little devil. I'm like, yes. And I love both of you. And it's super challenging when the devil comes out. What can we do when the devil comes out to contain some of the things? Because there are lines. There are lines. Like we have darkness, we have devil, but we don't say certain things still, even if we're angry. So it's like we're trying to dance with that. It's really interesting. I don't have it figured out, but I do know that this dark and twisted thing that we all have, when we push it down, it's going to be an explosion later on. And we can nurture it now and to understand we all have that inside of us. Let's see how we can learn to dance. And then maybe it's just a question of adjusting moves,
Yeah. I'd love to know when you do figure that out, because my youngest daughter, Sophie, she's 4. She is definitely that. She's got this, but she's so funny.
Yeah.
But she's got this real like devilish side and can like lose it. And it's her big voice is starting to come out more recently, and that's become challenging.
Yeah, it does become really challenging when they're loud. Or we can have a brainstorming session offline one day. Figure it out and then sell it. Sell the solution. Thank you, Dave. Kat,
Thank
I would like to
you.
know from you, Kat, is there something that you're a really big, strong, fat no to?
Yes. I mean, it followed
Bullshit.
on actually. I think from Curtis and Dave, actually, really, it is about inclusion and how we can chat a good chat about it, and then actually, when it comes to it, we live in a culture that is very judgmental, very ego, clinging to your ego that says, I am right and you are wrong. And if I am right, you must be wrong. There is no room for nuance. We live in a culture where I think it's exacerbated by our tabloid press. I think the Twitter culture, where we have become so used to hurling insults at people, really hurtful things. And I think the process of, my daughter is gay, and watching her as a teenager find the world to be a very unsafe place has been one of the most powerfully galvanizing moments of my life. It showed me my own blind spots. It's made me so furious that there are parts of the world where she wouldn't be able to be who she is. But it is perpetuated by some of our religions, some of our, the people in power who could lead with empathy and a little bit more understanding. And it's what drove me to start this sort of movement of collective wisdom, understanding that everybody has a story, everybody has their own right to self-determination, and that when we live in a culture where it's I can only be right at your expense and you are wrong, we will never move forward. So that piece around empathy has just landed. This is why it matters, because there are people every single day who take their own lives because of the persecution, because of the exclusion, because of the feeling less than, because they are made to feel such shame. And it's the one thing that hits me.
Really gets to you. Thank you. It's a huge topic. Okay. So when I'm listening now, because we're doing an impact workshop, I'm listening for what were the pieces that really have impact. When you started speaking, it was, I almost wanted to interrupt you and go, okay, can you get specific? Can you get specific? Because it was very much, well, this happening in the world. And I'm like, okay. And you know how nowadays we all have ADHD in a way because we're phone addicted and we're used to Instagram reels and our attention span has just been killed off. So I'm now thinking, what's the thing you need to say to get my attention and hold my attention on this very, very important topic? I think it is this: every day people are taking their lives because they're not allowed to be who they are. And I cannot stand for it. And whether you want to talk about your daughter or not is another choice. But if you were, you could say, my daughter is gay. And to know that she couldn't be who she is in many places of the world is heartbreaking to me. And all of that because we live in this idea of, if I'm right, you are wrong. That's the fundamental problem that we have. If I'm right, you are wrong. And that means that judgment is perpetuated and we can never move forward. Those were the things that I heard that were really, really passionate. Those in a quick succession make a very short and very impactful statement. Now you've got my attention, you can probably expand on it for another hour because I've got you. Do you want to try that?
Try what? Try expanding for another hour? No, for sure. And I felt myself. I think it is that runway of you're just finding your ground before you come straight in with the here's what matters to me and here's why.
Isn't that interesting? And that's, I think, also that's a skill that we are honing in on. Because it's very natural to find your ground. Oh, I got my point. It reminds me of when I was auditioning to be an actress. We would play the thing, and it was very typical. People do this. One moment, I'm just getting into it, and then okay, so come on, start. Oh, yeah, okay. And then we'd start with a role, and then they would go like, no, don't stop me yet. I'm just getting to it. And people would literally build to the big thing. And the consensus was across every acting school is, I'm not here to wait for you to get to your finale. You start strong and you might get even stronger, but be strong from the start. Otherwise my attention is gone. I think nowadays this is even more heightened with our culture, which means that we need to workshop what we want to say. Really think about what's the big thing here? What's the big point? What's the big ouch? What's the big and? Call that out first before we have the time. We need to buy that time to expand. So to summarize, there's nothing wrong with finding your way, but when it comes to messaging, you don't have. That's a luxury we just don't have. So we do that. That's the prep work. And once you find, okay, these are the 3 points that were really, boom, going in, that's how we start.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Absolutely, totally.
And this is not about just how having a conversation in a cafe. We're talking about impacting on stage, on video, in our messaging, because what we're trying to do is to really land a message with people so that they can pay attention to us and say, okay, whoa, there's leadership here. So we have to come in strong. Otherwise, who is the leader? It's the person who comes in strong and says, I'm going to take charge. Right? If there's 5 people playing music, it's the DJ who is like, has the most thing going on. He's going to take charge. Dave is better with those metaphors, but you see what I'm saying. Perfect. Okay. I know that we're short on time today, so I want to get an input from Edward as well. Edward, do you have something that you are a strong no or want to call bullshit to?
It's working out how to frame it, I guess. I think it's the lack of responsibility that people take for their own destiny, when they could achieve greatness and have so much to give to this world, but they would rather sit in their little comfortable bubble and basically say, no, I can't do that. No, 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 I'm happy in my little pigeonhole. And just not, I guess, take responsibility for their own life, their own destiny, and just sort of give up on life.
Why do you care?
It just becomes more and more frustrating to me now when I encounter people who've just got this lack of forward momentum, and I think it probably comes from where I live my life in a similar way. I would always delegate to others, no, you can't do that, or no, that's not how it's done, and you have to get a normal job, and you have to do this, and you have to follow something that Vishen Lakhiani says is the culturescape, or the rules, the bullshit rules that society expects us to follow. When in reality, as I've got older, there is this kind of cornucopia of possibilities and opportunities that are literally one fingertip touch away if you just stretch your arm out that little bit further. And it's like, wow, I didn't know I could do that, because everyone told you couldn't. But it's always been there, and it's always been available to you. And I guess as I'm becoming aware of these things, that bubble's expanding, and it's like, well, actually, no, all this is possible. Why are people not doing this? I mean, it's like it's creating kind of liberated, awake leaders, I guess, is a phrase I came up with recently.
Okay, so the way that you could frame this piece is from the point of frustration. You could start with a point of frustration, where you say, you can talk for yourself or you can talk about others. Let's talk about you because it's personal. Now that I'm older, I noticed that there are things that I can do just because I reach out my arm that I thought, oh my God, I didn't even know that was possible. But most of my life, I never even dared to go that far. Why? Because people told me you can't, because that wasn't the rules, because that wasn't the society norms. So I just never even dared, and then never even bothered to do it. And now here I am at age 35, looking back and thinking, geez, what a waste. What a waste of potential. Why did I believe this nonsense? So there is so much more possible for us than we are told to. And then I encounter people, they sit in their comfortable little bubble, or so it seems, and they're not bothered, and they don't even know that they could do that. And it drives me crazy because I've already not achieved all the things that I wanted to. I really would like you not to have to go down the same path. So something like that. So you could turn it around if you want to.
Yeah, I think
Does that make sense?
To people's pain. Oh no, absolutely, yeah.
It's speaking to people's pain, but not in the way that they used to teach us about. Tell people how it hurts and how it's never going to change if they don't change. There used to be a very markety thing. It's like, right, you're never going to achieve what you want. You got to live this mediocre life and die a mediocre death and waste your whole potential. The only way to get out of this is like there used to be a whole motivating from pain kind of fashion.
Yes,
that I
carrot and
personally
stick.
was very no. Yeah, I hated it. I was such a no to it. I'm like, this is not the vibe I want to perpetuate. I want to live and lead from possibility.
Hmm.
And they say, well, if you want to sell something, you gotta have to go into pain points because people blah, blah. And I'm like, bullshit to that. Then leave me alone. I will not sell my soul here. So this is not this kind of speaking to pain. This is speaking to actual pain because the pain is real.
Hmm.
The pain's real, and the pain fuels the passion. So it's pointing that out, and that makes it very real and very passionate and very powerful.
Yeah, it's that transformational message. So I like that. Amazing.
Yes. Yes.
Just you maybe lean in, Edward. I just have a quick question.
Hmm.
Is there a moment, a sort of catalyst moment, where you realize, what if there are no rules? Is there a specific thing that you can sort of land on? I'd be fascinated to hear more.
It's kind of the journey since well, actually, I had a stroke at the beginning of 2020, and it was when I was sitting in the hospital bed, going, "Why have I been living my life that way? Why can't I live it this way?" And I'm kind of forging that path to go out and do that, and kind of repackaging myself to where I am now, which is, still a work in progress, but it's that's opened the doors of possibilities to go, oh yeah, I can do that. I can do this. Okay, it's not easy, but find a way, and off you go. So
I love that. Thank you, Kat, for drawing that out of him. That is brilliant. That is also a really powerful piece.
mm,
I was sitting in my hospital bed in 2020. I've just had a stroke. And I thought to myself, why have I been living my life this way? If I could live it that way, I wonder if I could live it that way. Here I am in my second life, and I'm living it that way, the beyond the rules way, the what is possible way, the I don't really care if you say no to me way. I mean, I'm technically dead. I'm going to try what I want free way. And the surprising thing is, it works so much better for me. Oh my gosh, I wish I had known that 30 years ago.
mm,
Something like, you can, it's really powerful storytelling. If you start from that real place of A, change, or B, pain.
amazing. Thank you. Thanks,
So
everybody. Thank you.
that's how we frame a very powerful story. And now you also build, there's a credibility that you build. This guy has learned from a near-death experience. That's a really powerful place. When
Mm,
Curtis speaks and tells us about his background, I'm listening in because I don't meet a lot of people with with big disabilities who have a positive mindset. Nor have I met a lot of people who've gone through abuse and jail and disability and have a positive mindset and a drive to make the world a better place. That's fascinating. Now I want to hear more. So if Curtis can articulate more and more messages from that very honest place, I do want to hear, because who in this world can talk about this in the way like he can? Nobody. And this is why I'm always really interested in drawing out your unique backgrounds. Kat, when we met, we had this as well. This Kat does jewelry design and coaching. She is uniquely positioned to talk about the treasures of life and the gems of life and the jewels of experience. She knows about beauty. She knows about bespoke. She knows about luxury. She knows about the worlds that most of us, we don't hang out with gold as much as she does, but we're all interested in it. So there's just so much uniqueness in each and every one of you that when we draw that out and messages in that way will exponentially increase your impact. And that makes me excited. So do it for me, people. Do it for yourselves and your businesses, obviously. But that is exciting to me. Thank you. Okay, we are almost at the top of the hour, and my big goal is to let people go when I say I will let them go. Shall we close with one word or one sentence of what you're walking away with here? Let's start with who's ready? Curtis is ready.
I'm walking away with the knowledge that I am not my past stories, never will be again. I am what I envision myself to become as a better person so that I can be an example, and that's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Who's next? What are you walking away with today?
That was beautiful, Curtis. Well said. I loved it. I'm walking away with a sense of a renewed sense of what it means to really find the gold in everyone you meet, because everyone has a little bit of gold inside them. Everyone has that potential to sparkle and be out there in the world in a beautiful way, and that's been a really lovely. So thank you for holding up that mirror, Evelyn. That was amazing.
Pleasure. Thank you. Edward.
I think it's just amazing here, the transformation that I'm seeing just in this hour with everybody, and certainly myself. And the one word I would say is clarity in terms of messaging and how to move what I have forward. So thank you for that.
The pleasure. Thank you. And Dave, take us home.
Rather than clarity for me, it's the word alignment. The alignment has been very present for me. Alignment in my story, who I am, what I've gone through, and bringing that all together into where I'm at now and who I'm serving. So it's just a really powerful reminder to reinforce what I'm already doing and amplify that out in the world.
I love this. Yeah, thank you. So today was a lot about how we're crafting the message in a more impactful way. There's different layers to impact, right? One is finding your message, then tuning it so it becomes more impactful. And the other piece is how to express it so it becomes more impactful. Of course, I love to play an expression piece, but I always find that we need to have those other things in place first. Otherwise, we have nothing to express. So step one is creating a message. Step two, tuning the message for impact. That's where we went today. So your playtime, if you like homework, is craft a few messages and then polish them for impact and try them out. See if it works. Use some trusted friends or come back on a community call here. Come back on an impact workshop and present it. You're very welcome to do so. We're going to host another one next month. These are all in preparation for the next Impact Amplifier experience, which will take place in September. There's a waiting list at the moment. If you want to get yourself on there, you'll get the early bird pricing. So it's always a good idea to go on there early. And I'm so happy that you were here. Thank you so much. Feel free to let your friends know about this call. I'd love to serve more people every time. It's super fun for me, and I hope it was fun for you as well. Let's make the world a better place. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks so
Bye
much,
for now.
Evelyn.
Thank
Love
you.
the little
Thank
boy.
you, everyone.
You too.
Big love to you, that little boy of yours.
Yes. Thank you so
Big
much.
love, guys.
Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
Great to meet you guys. Thanks for spending
You
the
too.
time.